Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, everyone. MissNatasha here. I hope you're doing well. I am briefly going to have a discussion about the thoughts of manhood, and I just felt like I wanted to put myself out there and ask the question, how do men create instead of hate? And how they've come to their male understandings and so forth. So I have a wonderful guest here, and I just want to say the three words that I thought of when I thought of asking this gentleman, and the three words are courageous, dedicated, and loving. So I'd love to please have you introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is Andrew Dixon. Um, the best way to describe myself is son, father, brother, and mentor. It's the way I just sort of describe myself. So that's my little small intro to describe who Andrew Dixon is. Very simple.
Thank you. Thank you. I really do think that even the small moments that we have since we've met, you have mentored me without even knowing
I've been hearing that a lot lately, so that's why I'm embracing it and trying to sort of amplify it. Right?
Yeah.
Because I think the more people you touch, the more impact you're gonna have on generations, right? So I think it's very important that that I hone in on this kind of stuff because I just do it because I do it, not because I'm looking for anything or even thinking about it, to be honest. It just sort of comes out, right? So if that's my gift that I figured out later on in life, then that's my gift and I gotta embrace it.
Actual. That's like exactly right. And I
Hmm.
and I appreciated that from you, and that's why I decided to think about asking you to be a part of it. I find it a bit daunting to ask and put myself out there, but I try to do it uh, at least 10 hard things every day.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's what's beginning.
So I'll start off with the easy, like straightforward question. Where where did you find your fathering inspiration?
Well, that's, I don't know, it's interesting because when you become a father, then you're ultimately thrust into the role, right? So whether you get it from your father or whether you just get it from just figuring it out, I think you end up sort of being in it. So, I mean, I became a father when I was pretty young, but I must say that, I had a dad. I have a dad still. All my life, right? And he was, your typical Jamaican dad, strong. He was like 6'4", 200 and I don't know, guessing probably 20 pounds, so a big man. So when he spoke, you listened, right? If you felt the belt, you felt it because he was a strong individual, right? But he grew us up under a strict family in the church. So I think that you take that stuff with you, right? So even if you don't follow it or disagree with it or anything like that, I think that you take pieces of that with you and then you intrinsically give it out when you become a father.
Yes. And it seems as though like you're just like in that role, like you know that role because of it too. Like you've seen it laid out for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I agree with that 100% because I believe that especially as children, you follow what you see, right?
Mm,
You don't do what people say. You do
yeah.
what you see. So a lot of times you'll hear, individuals, like for instance, if you grew up in a smoking family, right? They'll say, "Oh, don't smoke; it's not good for you," even though you see them smoking. So you tend to end up smoking because you see that's what your parents did, right? Because remember, your parents is your whole world, right? So
Yeah.
everything that they do, you're gonna think that this is normal. This is what I
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
right? So and you can see it right across all facets of life, right? If you think of even individuals who grew up in the sort of gang neighborhoods and stuff like that, and they become gang members, is because that's all the life they know, right? They don't know any different.
Yeah.
So so you end up just adopting those things, and it's very lucky for individuals to kind of escape that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Definitely is. Besides your father, what other male inspirations or mentoring did you have?
I don't know, because for me, I don't think of it as mentoring. I think it's just like me now, when I just speak to people. I don't think of it as mentoring. I'm just trying to pass on. And I think the older you get, is the more you take thought of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you try and pass on just experiences that you've been through,
Mm-hmm.
that will help, somebody else who's going to go through that experience. Because I think in life, it's just about cycles, right? It's just a new generation coming up, and they're going through the same things that we did, maybe on different levels, like with the introduction of technology and different things. So there's different levels to it all. But in essence, you're still going through the same cycle that you've been through, right? So I would say that, I had a few uncles that probably had some influence on your life as well, right? And then some even older friends who I would speak to that had some influence as well, right? Just because they saw you as a young kid, and they're trying to just impart their knowledge, right? And a lot of them too is just by imparting their experiences, and a lot of their experiences from the Caribbean, right?
Yeah.
So then further on, when they came to Canada, US, or England, or wherever they went to, right? So that's all you can really draw on, is your own lived experience, and then you try and pass that on to whoever you think might want to hear it.
That's nice. I, it's a blessing to have real family that pass on the important things like hard work and dedication, love, faith, gratefulness, and so forth. Because some people, they don't, like you said, they've never seen those types of people before.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And even if I think of my father, like between him and my mom, like my mom worked a night shift, my dad worked a day shift. We had a handoff, like we had an hour overlap, right? And then one handed off to the other, and then it was like clockwork every single day. And you saw that range, sign, snow, doesn't matter how big the snow was, right? Got up and he's gone, right?
Mhm.
Fixing the car, like all that kind of stuff. Going to church, like it happened. It doesn't matter what outside looked like. We were going, right? So if that's not showing dedication, if that's not sort of living dedication, not just telling us about it, then you can't help but to notice, right? And then it kind of it envelops you as a child, and then whether you liked it or not, you develop that innate sense of, yes, this is what dedication is, this is what hard work is, because I see my dad gone through it, and he's doing it so that way we could have a better life, right? So in turn, you're trying to do the same thing for your kids,
Mhm.
just make their life a little bit better than yours was, and
Yeah.
provide them a little bit easier journey, and finding that direction, and you know what I mean? So
Yeah. So I thank you for that. I got to have, I guess, lunch with two gentlemen 2 weeks ago, and I kind of bounced my ideas of what I was going to ask the men that I will be interviewing. So it was
mhm.
quite a good experience to have like hands-on critique.
Okay.
But one of the questions that I got, I'd like to ask you, which is
And was that a question that they critiqued?
no, no.
Okay.
So we have ideas of money. So it's positive or negative. But after fatherhood, how was your idea of money? How did it change after fatherhood?
Well, that's a good question. So
Yeah,
I
well,
think
you go.
yeah, the problem is, like, I didn't think about it on that level. before or after fatherhood, right? So I
Mm.
think one of the big things with money, and I didn't learn this until I actually went to a money seminar.
Mm.
So it was called I think it was called Millionaire Minds or something like that. It's a seminar. It's like a 3-day seminar, and a lot of people, because you have to pay money to go through it, don't go through that, right? But it takes you into the psychology of money, right? So if you think of money, um, we sometimes self-sabotage ourselves, right? Because we look at rich people as they must have scanned the system in order to get money. They must have taken that money from somebody else to get that money, right? It's a negative connotation to having money and being rich. If you even think of it, you hear the saying like money is the root of all evil, right?
Mhm.
And if you really look into what it says in the Bible, right? It says the love of money. So it doesn't say money or having money is, it says the love of money is, right? So it's little things like that that you have to break out of those just saying stereotypes, things that were kind of brought in, because then deep down you don't want to make the money because you think it's bad, right?
Right.
And for me, it's and I think how it kind of switched for me, one of that seminar, because I think like building your money blueprint is super
Mhm.
important. And this is what they talk about, building your money blueprint. So you wonder why people who win like, $10 million or whatever, and they're broke again in 3 months, 6 months, a year, is because they didn't build their money blueprint, right? So your money blueprint will always match what's in your bank account, right? So if your money blueprint is zero because of the negativity, because you don't want to strive for it, because you think it's bad, like all the stuff that comes along with it, then it'll always come back to zero. So when you look at your bank account each week and you see that it's zero, because your money blueprint is there. So if you start doing stuff like going to seminars, going to investment classes, going to all that stuff, your money blueprint will grow, and so will your bank account. Like, it's so important. And this is something that we rarely talk about. And it's one of the things that even in my family, what I want to do is I've been having these conversations of, okay, when it comes to finances and financial literacy and that kind of stuff, when we meet for, say, Thanksgiving, Christmas, those are big sort of things, especially in the States. Thanksgiving is huge, right? So we go down to Florida almost every year, and we get together, we eat, we play dominoes, we drink, we even go to church, like all that kind of stuff. And then we go home and we say, what a great time. It's good to see everybody and all that stuff. But we have people in our family who are doctors. We have people in our families who are lawyers, realtors, all these type of things. And none of us exchange, right?
Right.
None of us. Like, we have, and I think it should be a intrinsic thing that when you get together, part of that getting together, and it happens every single time,
That's
is we
right.
sit everybody down, especially the younger generation, and then talk about these things, right? Talk about how to invest, get an investor to come and talk about it, because we have investors in our family, right? Even if it's a small amount, right?
Yeah.
$5 a week, right?
Yeah.
Invest it. If you start at 19, by the time you're, so we want to make this a part of going out. So just like it is to play dominoes, it is to have 1 hour, 2 hours, or whatever set aside for financial literacy or living or mentorship or something like that, right? Within the family, because everything starts there. And then you build out from that. So that's one thing I'm working on. So I think when you ask how did my mindset change, it's because after you have your child, and depending on, how you were growing up, everything goes to that child now. So shoes, clothes, like, I used to buy shoes all the time and have the latest. And probably for the next 17, 18 years, never bought another pair of shoes myself, right? So so then money's a little bit more important, because you're not spending on yourself, you're spending on the child. You want to make sure that child has everything, especially from food, clothing, like when you think of Pampers, all that kind of stuff, right? Now it's a necessity for that child to survive, right? So there's a whole new spin on it, as far as now I need to get up and go to work because I need to do it for that child, not just for myself, right? So it really does change your mindset as far as, money is, right? But yeah, but if you don't sort of do the work, then you get stuck. And I think that's what happens to a lot of us. We get stuck.
Yeah. I'm Benjamin buttoning my life, so I'm getting all caught up on my financial side of life, and since the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So I feel you in what you're saying, that unlearning of my money mindset was the first
Mhm.
key.
Yeah.
And then starting to read and find out and go to, like you said, go to people who know what they're doing so they can help you along. So I got
Yeah.
myself financial, um like a money coach,
Yes. Yeah.
and she helped me like get all the way to get there.
That's right. And there's a little bit of shame attached to that, right? Because especially if you have bad credit or if you have all these credit cards that you shouldn't have, but you have
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah,
There's that shame attached to it. So you don't want to tell anybody your business. You don't want people to know, like all that kind of stuff. But we got to get over that stuff and know
very,
that
very,
a lot of
all
us
of them.
start in the hole. That's right. A
Mhm.
lot of us
And let
start in the
them know.
hole. We
Mm-hmm.
start in the hole and we have to dig just to get even before we can start to build.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Whereas you
Mm-hmm.
look at especially other cultures, like they when their kids leave home, they already have a house or they already have a sizable down payment or they already have like a car, they have their university all set, you know what I mean? So they kind of start from even and then they can grow from that. Whereas I find that a lot of people in our culture don't. We all start from the hole.
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know
Mm-hmm. Yes. Very, very, very true. So I'm going to go on to the next question. Um, can you give me some confidence statements? So after all of this, we're like digging ourselves out. We need the
Mhm.
confidence and strength to dig ourselves out. How does how do you as a man dig yourself out of, or how do you as a man build that confidence to not have to feel too weary about life?
Yeah, so I think for me, it starts with a little thing. So I do a mentorship program that we do on Mondays, and it's surrounded by basketball, right? Because I play basketball. If you can't see me, because I'm sitting down, I'm 6'6", right? So play basketball, love basketball, and we're sort of trying to coach and mentor under 14 kids, right? Just to start. And part of the program that we do is like we do the first 15 minutes, the last 50 minutes of every session is just that mentoring piece. So one of the things I asked them to do, we call it mirror work, right? So you tape up on the mirror, I am him, I am powerful, I am loved, right? And every time you go and you brush your teeth, and you're supposed to brush your teeth with your left hand, right? Or your non-dominant hand, so they can get used to using that other hand. So it translates to the court, right? So
Mm-hmm.
every time you brush your teeth or you go in the washroom, you're supposed to say it 10 times when you look at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just positive affirmation, something so small, but it's difficult to do when you first started, right? Because you're looking in the mirror and you're kind of seeing yourself and you're speaking to yourself and it feels a little weird. But
Mm-hmm.
little things like that is going to build you confidence,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just by doing that. And you may not see it right away, but just by doing that, right? By having meditation. So by meditating, right? And
Mm-hmm.
while you're meditating, have the positive affirmations, right? Even if you have it playing, and even if you're not saying it, but you have it playing, doing that every single day. And what you find is that it will seep into your subconscious because it's really your subconscious that you're trying to drive, right? Like when you're thinking about things, you can make better decisions and stuff like that when you're thinking about it because we're logical. But it's the ego and the subconscious is what really runs us on cruise control,
That's
right? So when
right.
you think about it, when you make all these things, it's like, man, why did I do that? It's because your subconscious is working on that cruise control, which made you do that, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of times it's the safety piece, right? So your body always wants to be safe. So do I invest in that? No, it's not safe because I could lose my $10 and this is only $10 I have. So what are you going to do? Procrastinate and not do it, right?
Mm.
So you have to fight that. So in order to fight that, you kind of have to get to that subconscious, and by doing that, by saying that mirror work, by doing your affirmations, like especially before you go to bed, like fall asleep listening to it. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
then that will seep into your subconscious, and then what you're gonna find is over time that it'll move away from the negative stuff and start moving to the positive stuff, right? And
Mm-hmm.
especially taking action, because like you said, do 10 things you're afraid of a day. Do it, right? Because when you find once you push through that first thing and you're like, oh, this isn't that bad, right? It's like I think Oprah was saying it once, like we're all scared of the boogeyman behind us and we're all kind of running and we're afraid to look back. And she said, just look back and you're going to see that nothing's there, right? When you think about
Oh,
it, Yes. So there's a key thing that I taught my daughter, and I try and tell, the kids that I talk to is the same thing. If you put somebody in a room with a chair, it's an empty room. So you go in the room and you look around and it's empty, right? And then a chair, that's the only thing in the room. There's nothing there's no windows, nothing else. And you turn off the light and you leave that person in there. Over a period of time, they will drive themselves crazy because their mind will make up all this stuff of who or what is in the room. And there's nothing in there. And your mind will still make it up that something's there. Oh, I felt something. I heard something. You know what I mean? And it will drive you nuts. Right? So it's the same thing. Right? There's nothing in the room. So just go do whatever you plan to do.
Oh, that's like
Right?
what I do, but not necessarily like that. So
Yes.
I'm gonna make sure I envision that chair in the room, like when I'm going on stage, like
Yes.
just
Yeah.
that's the kind of place that you go. Like there's
Yeah.
it's not that there's nothing really there to be worried about.
It's nothing to be worried about. Or even like if you think of because my daughter's she's doing track and field lately,
Oh
right?
yes.
So you get those butterflies when you're at the starting line. I said everybody gets those butterflies, right? And yes, it's scary, yes, it's
Yes.
uncertainty, all that kind of stuff. But that means you're alive. The
Yes.
butterfly means you're alive. But you know what happened as soon as that gun goes off? The butterflies all go away, and your training kicks in, and you just do the best you can.
That's
You
right.
know, so it's a part of it. But the key thing is to break through that. Like you need to break through when the gun goes off and the butterflies disappear. That's what you need to break through. But that's the hardest thing for a lot of us to do. Right?
Wow. Man, I hope you're listening. And women, but this is about the
Absolutely.
men, this is about the men because I just feel have it my youngest brother passed away in 2017, and I think
Mm,
that if he had more male mentors, that wouldn't have happened.
yeah,
So I just do this because maybe there's someone out there, young or old, who just needed to hear a little bit of what you just
that's
said.
right. No, I believe it. I believe that too. I mean, I have my personal experience with stuff like that.
Yeah,
You know.
myself included. So on this note, I'll go into the next question. As a man, when you hear these words, what comes to mind? And you spoke a little bit about it just before. Pride, ego, shame, guilt.
Yeah. So I think for me, I think a lot of what comes to my mind initially is you have this sort of big movement that sort of everything a man does is wrong, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and you're not given credit for the stuff that you do, right? So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the first thing that kind of comes to mind. And then men are now afraid to do the quote unquote traditional stuff because they're afraid they'll be criticized for it, right? And for me it's like a lot of that stuff you have to look beyond because intrinsically you know what the right thing to do is.
Mm.
You do because we're all virtuous human beings, right? And we're taught to do the other stuff, right? So it's just important that we know that that's the right thing to do. And for me, one of the things I tell a lot of the kids is that if you have that little voice that's always talking to you in the back of your head, right? And if that voice is talking to you and you have to ask the question, what would my dad think? Then you know it's the wrong thing to do. You know it's the wrong thing to do. You're already asking yourself, oh, what would dad or mom think? You know it's the wrong thing to do, so don't do it. You know? So I think that's the kind of things that kind of come to mind is that and especially with social media and stuff like that for the younger folks, the attention is getting the likes, right?
Yeah.
And being liked by everybody, being a part of the group, right? And if you're not, then that's where the shame and stuff comes into place, right? So I try and teach them and even colleagues and friends is like it's okay to be different, right? It's
Yeah.
okay to be yourself, right? And you'll find that I know it's tough when you're coming through like as a teen coming up, but you'll see around age 25, 26, 27, that's when you'll be celebrated for your differences, right? And I know a lot of people don't want to be different, because if you're that different person, then you're that one that gets picked on, because the crowd kind of sticks together, right? So it's tough to embrace that. But if you can stand in your glory, right, and show everybody that this doesn't bother me. You can say whatever you want to say. I'm who I am, and you'll realize this later on. I just realized it earlier than you. And if you can do that, then what you'll see is you just need to do it enough, and they'll leave you alone. They'll go on to somebody else, right? So it's easier said than done, right? But this is things that we try and teach, especially in the mentoring class. What I do is you got, and you know what yourself is. You really do. Like, you don't have to capitulate to what everybody's telling you are, or what you can be. No, you just figure it out on your own. You know what I mean? And deep down, like, if you love art, if you love to play the flute, right, versus playing the drums, like, if you love to do ballet, right? And it doesn't matter if you're a man, you know what I mean? Because there's plenty of men that have done ballet and done very well at it, right? So it's things like that. It's just breaking down those little stereotypes. And I know and they're trying to do that now, right? And maybe it's gone too far the other direction, but ultimately it is what it is. But you can only be true to yourself, and I think the people who are not, they feel that later on, you know.
Yeah, I am one of those people who felt it later on, and then when I did start to embody what you're saying, a lot of people weren't very nice and
Yeah,
happy with it. I thought they
yeah,
would be, but no, because when you stand, like you said, when you stand up and you say it, they just go on to somebody else.
that's right. So who's with you 24 hours a day?
Yeah, that's you.
And
Wow.
that's it. Not even your mother, your brother, your sister, your auntie, nobody. It's just you, right? So, and even if those people are making fun of you, they probably forgot about you 10 seconds after they finish making fun of you, and they're going about their business. And you're going to worry about them making fun of you for the rest of your life. You know
Right.
what I mean? And they're not with you 24/7. Only you are,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's why you got to just be true to yourself, whatever that means,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know?
I'm overly pleasant with men and women, because maybe a person or another hasn't had that from an individual before.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised at how some people are like so like taken aback
Hmm.
and just feeling happy. Like I talk with men and they are happy that I'm presenting a pleasant person in front of them.
Yeah.
Obviously, people are not always pleasant, but it just does something for our people if we share pleasantries and kindness instead
Yes.
of an evil eye or a this or a that.
Yeah, but a lot of times it's done out of necessity, right? So if you think of even where you come from, right? If you don't have the screw face on, then people are going to think you're weak and then attack you because of it, right? So you
Right?
automatically just
For
put that
sure.
on, just in, you just do it. So for me, a lot of times is breaking that down, right? And knowing your audience.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, like if you go into a place, they even have it on YouTube where there's somebody in a subway and they're laughing their head off, and then all of a sudden another person starts laughing, another person, and they don't have no idea what the joke is, but
What they're
everybody's laughing,
laughing
right?
about.
Yeah, so it's so much easier to spread the pleasant side of things than the negative side, right?
Yeah.
And then for me, what I always look at is, why is this person so negative, right? This could be a person who's in constant pain because of
Right.
an accident or something, right? This could be whatever. There's a million reasons why they could be that way. So that's another side that you have to look at to say, okay, this person's miserable. There's got to be a reason why. You know
Right.
what I mean? And a lot of stuff that leads to that, right? So if you can spread that pleasant side, and they can see that there's a pleasant side to people, even if I don't know you. When I walk down the road, even outside in front of my yard, anybody passing by, I say good morning.
Me
And it
too.
throws so many people off. It's like,
It
oh,
does.
you're talking to me, you're saying good morning. Oh, yeah, good morning. You know what I mean? And some don't even say it. They just keep put their head down and keep walking, right?
Yeah.
But simple things like that, I think, makes a difference, because they know that there are good people around. Most people are good people, right? Most of the world are good people. But what you do is when you turn on the news, all you hear is the negative stuff. Who got shot, stabbed, wars, run somebody over, all the negative stuff, right? And one of the things I also talk about is you get good at what you practice, right? So if you practice seeing that stuff, hearing that stuff, talking about that stuff, oh, did you hear what happened to so and so, blah blah blah, then all of a sudden now you now embody that, right? Because you're constantly taking this stuff in, right? So of course you're going to be miserable, right? So if you can change that narrative even a little bit, then you've done a good service, because somebody's going to pick up on it, and then they're going to say, you know what, I can be positive too because I saw somebody else being positive. And then there you go. That's where the ripple effect comes in, and it starts affecting those millions of people that's going to be coming up after meeting you one day.
Right. I like that. You did a
Yeah,
great. That was wonderful.
that's right.
I will go into the next question. What does friendship mean to you?
Hmm. So that's a good question. So I think friendship means to me is that somebody who will be there no matter what. And I know that's easy for people to say, but when you say ride or die, I don't think people understand what ride or die is. You know what I mean? I really
They
don't.
don't. They
So
don't.
that's what true friendship is to me. And really and truly, like, you could have 1,000 friends, but there's only 3 or 4, maybe if you're lucky, if you're blessed, you'll have 3 or 4 that you can call your ride or die, that you can call up anytime. And that was, if you want to borrow money, no problem, and they won't ask for it back. If you need a ride somewhere, 2 in the morning, doesn't matter if I'm dead in my sleep, I'm gonna get up, I'll drive in the snow, I'll go pick you up and take you where you need to go. No questions asked, right? I think that's the key part, right? This is what ride or die does, right? If you know, they have the things, where are we going? Get your mask, let's go. And you grab your mask and you go, and you don't even ask the question, right? Like, these are the things that are true ride or dies, right? But I think on the other side is, buddy, I see you drinking so much. What's
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey, you gain a couple pounds. What's happening? You know, um, you're talking kind of funny. I haven't heard you talk that way before. What's going on? You know, like these are things that we
Mhm.
don't even want to touch, right? But it's stuff I think that's what your ride or die will do. Your ride or die will come and check you on stuff. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? If you're gonna do something wrong, your ride or die will come and say, no, we ain't doing that. I know you're just pissed off or whatever, why
Mhm.
you're having this reaction, but you need to, I'm the guy that's gonna tell you, here's the other side that you need to worry about. You know what I mean? Here's the second thought, that second thought that you need to make the right decision. I'm that guy for that, right? And it doesn't matter if you come at me hard. I'm gonna say it's all good, man. I'll be here tomorrow.
That's
You know,
right.
that's
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 right.
yeah, and that's hard to find, because you find that, especially if I'm supposed to be your friend and I don't agree with you, then all of a sudden we're not talking now because I don't agree with you, right? So that's my definition.
I have another question that's like kind of, I didn't write this on here, but um as a man with friends or and acquaintances, what do you think about the topic of men being friends and buddies with men that don't take care of their children?
Hmm. I don't know, because I don't have that.
Right.
I don't
Right.
have that around me. So I don't know. That would be tough for me. I think because I think for me that it would always kind of lead back to that discussion, right? Like, why? Right?
Right.
So why? So maybe they just don't know how. All right. So
Right.
maybe you got to teach them how. Maybe it's because it's a financial thing, and they can't help it. Maybe it's because the way they were brought up. Like, there's so many things that kind of lead to that. So for me, I don't automatically say you're wrong for not doing it.
Hmm.
I would try and understand why not, right? And it could be coming from the mother side, maybe not giving access. Like, there's so many things, and
Exactly.
it's so complicated. But for me, I always give the benefit of the doubt first, and then, so we would be having like lots of conversations if that was somebody in my circle, you know,
Hmm.
like, and it would be sort of reoccurring conversations
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
first teach, right, and then advise, and then see how they kind of respond to it, right? But ultimately, every man has to make their own decisions. But I think the mentorship piece is so key that every family has to have that father figure.
Mm-hmm.
They're like every family does, right? Because it's the counterbalance, right? That's why you have the man and the woman together. But it's necessary, right? So
Yeah.
for me, it would be a teachable thing to begin with, and then sort of like get a little stronger as if they're not receptive to it. But yeah, I
Because
don't know. That's a tough question for me to ask because I don't experience that, right? Because I
yeah,
don't have those individuals in my circles, so
yeah,
it's
I've
difficult.
experienced it. I have a father who lives in the same country. I love like it was great.
Mm,
And then it wasn't.
yeah.
So and he keeps like putting it all on me.
Hmm.
And people around don't say nothing. So I'm like, is this the norm in malehood? That no one
Oh,
says nothing? I know it's not true, but
yeah.
growing up, this is what I thought, right?
Yeah.
So now I don't have I haven't had those type of feelings that I used to have as a child for over 20 years, and he still says I do and tells people I do,
Hmm.
and they believe it because he's like more like he has more going for him and I don't. And so
Yeah, but that's all perspective. That's all
right,
perspective, right? So for
right,
me, there's always three sides to every story.
yep,
And whenever you're telling your story, you're always going to put yourself in a better light, always.
yeah,
And it doesn't matter how factual the story is, you will always put yourself in a better light. So,
yep,
and then of course, the people who are surrounding him are probably closer to him too, right? So they're going to take his side. Being an
mhm,
adult, you'll always get more preferential treatment from a respect sort of view, right?
mhm,
So if you have an adult saying something and a child saying something, the adult will always have that edge as far as people will
right,
believe the adult over the child.
right,
So that's just a natural thing that you have to go through. And the difficulty is no matter how old you are, you'll still be the child. Right? You will
yeah,
still always be the child. And as much as we say we're not going to do it, I still see my son as that 8-year-old kid. You know what I mean? Even though he's 30. So it is something you have to kind of fight through, and that's another thing. It's just like the with the money blueprint, right?
yeah,
You have to take your steps to dig that out. So if it's talking to a
yeah.
therapist,
Please,
right? And a
please.
lot of us, especially men, don't want to sort of talk to therapists and stuff like that because they consider it weak or that kind of stuff. But for me, it's the work, right? So the financial literacy is one aspect, which is easy because we can touch and feel it, right? But the sort of stuff from the heart, that is where that's where everybody has their wall up because you want to protect that heart, right? So, and those walls are pretty thick. So you need help to break it down just to even understand why you're hurting, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so I think that's super important.
Hmm. Like the just to bring it up for contrast as to why like I even delve into manhood, like, oh, why, like some women will ask me, oh, why are you like bothering with men? Like,
Mhm.
no, what
Mhm.
do you mean why? If we don't bother with them, how are we supposed to intertwine, build, create, motivate, and so forth? We need to understand and get to recognize one another
Correct.
for different facets.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I know it's I don't know, it's a little difficult, or it gets more difficult um as you sort of go through life, and especially the older you get, right? And then
Hmm.
you have sort of all these movements going, and every movement has their own agenda, right?
Yeah.
So I guess you gotta be the one to pick and choose which one you're gonna align with.
Hmm.
But ultimately, like, we're in this together, right? So
Hmm.
so we got to figure that part out, and it's not me doing better because you're doing worse, right? And I think that's what happens in a lot of these cases, right? It's like you hear the typical thing, I don't need no man because I can make my own money and I can do all that stuff. Yeah, but money is just one element of, especially if you're thinking of family, right? It's just one element of it, right? Taking your care of yourself is just one element of it. Even raising your kids is just one element of it. So it's much better with a family unit. It will always be much better with a family unit. And I think that's why you have a lot of breakdown, even if you listen to the music, if you listen to all this kind of stuff that the kids are listening to now, like it's half of it is it's not even digestible, right? But the kids love it. And then there is no structure there because the family unit has been pulled apart. Right. So until we can get the family unit back together, in whatever capacity that looks like, you're always gonna find this. And then the problem is that these kids are gonna grow up to be adults, and then the only thing left, because you have your father's it's gone, the mother can't handle or is too busy working. So now the kids are being grown up by society and the system, and then the system takes away any power from the teachers. And then now you have coaching, which is why I like coaching. It's probably the one little element of frontier that's still kind of can talk to kids and get structure out of them. But then what's left after that, right? The policeman. That's what's left after that. And there's no respect for them. And they're happy to pick you up and throw you in jail, right? And then throw away and lock away the key. So there you go. So your whole generation has been destroyed, right?
Yeah.
Because you didn't have the family unit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the cycle continues, right? Because the world needs widget makers. They don't need too many entrepreneurs. You know what I mean? And the world needs, the system to just keep rolling, right? And that's part of the way how it continues. So we individually in our own little families have to do better, in my mind, and then teach the next generation to do better. And then if they can do better, then we can start rebuilding.
I agree. So in saying that, how do you navigate hope?
How do I navigate hope? That's a good question too. I don't know. I haven't thought about it, because I think it's in you, right? It all depends on how you're growing up. So I think growing up in the church, a lot of the stuff you believe in is through belief. So you don't see it, you can't touch it, you can't feel it, right? It's just in belief in, right? And then even if you talk about stuff like prayer and stuff, and you say a prayer and something happens and it aligns with your prayer, right? Then there's your little hope that became reality, right? And I think it starts from that. So if I wasn't sort of growing up in the church, I probably would be less hopeful on things or less positive, right? Because I didn't have that influence.
I love my dad, and I love the positive times that we had. I learned so much. So I'm hopeful through my faith that things will be different. You don't know when, you just leave it. But I'm hopeful in that. I'm hopeful that life will go on in positive ways for other people.
Yeah, but then
yeah, go on.
Yeah, but then you have to. But I mean, ultimately, sometimes things don't work out because you need two parties to put in the work.
Reciprocation. Yes,
That's right.
reciprocation. Yep,
So
yep.
if the other person is not willing or not capable of doing that,
Yeah.
then you could hope all you want that nothing's gonna happen, right? But
Yeah.
but
We
you just
leave
gotta
it. We leave it. We
work on the
leave it,
small things. Work on the small things, right? And incrementally, you just want to see things get better incrementally, and then you get a breakthrough sooner or later.
I thank you so much for your time.
Was that the time already?
I would say so. I would appreciate I appreciate you and your words. I love words. Words help me to convey myself a bit better.
Yeah.
And words help me to understand the world that I lived in and live in. So I think like this type of engagement, yes, it needs to be in person and bigger.
Yes,
you
yes.
know, and that's where my vision and my hope goes to, because I want to be uh not um I want to be of light, but not for self,
Hmm.
but for change,
Yeah, I hear
you
you.
know, for unity, you
But
know, for
this is just the beginning.
for love,
Yeah.
for that grit. Like, I really did want to start run, like, actually jog, not jogging, actually running again, but I'm
Okay.
so frightened because I tore my typical plateau
Okay.
just before COVID, so I never really done like a good, like, run.
Okay.
This is the second time that I spoke with you, and hearing your daughter pushing and persevering like
Yeah.
that got me thinking, like, I need to go get running shoes. I actually went to sports check to go to
Yeah.
see if I could see some. So I'm tiptoeing towards that.
Good. You get in there and go buy the shoes and then just start walking. That's all you got to do is start walking. You don't have to start running. Just start walking.
So
And then
I'm
after
like,
you walk for a couple of weeks or a couple months, then you start speed walking. And then
mm-hmm.
after you start speed walking, then you start jogging.
Then you start
And then you
jogging.
jog for 5 minutes, walk for 5 minutes, jog for 5 minutes, walk for 5 minutes, right? And then by the time you turn around, you'll be jogging for 10, 15, 20 minutes. And then next thing you know, you'll be running. But if you don't
Exactly.
buy the pair of shoes, that's the catalyst. Go
No,
buy the pair of shoes. That's
it's so
catalyst. You don't even
true.
need the shoes. That's just an excuse.
No, I
But
don't. I don't.
go buy the shoes
I
and
know.
start.
Because I'm
Start
just like,
walking
maybe,
tomorrow.
maybe this will
Yes.
be the encourage. We always have something to help us stay further back, like a shoe.
Yes.
You're right. The shoe is not the thing,
That's
really, but
right.
it's taking us further back.
That's right. That's why I tell the kids, because we always talk about the four agreements. So I make them repeat it usually before and the end of
Mm.
practice. So one of the number one thing is be impeccable with your words, right? Because words matter. You know what I mean? That's the number one thing. And so I always make sure we talk about it, right? We talk about don't make
Take
assumptions,
don't
right?
take
And
anything
don't take things
personal.
personal, and then always do your best. But it starts with be impeccable with your words because words matter,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's so important. So go buy those pair of shoes. Next time we talk, I expect you to have those new pair of shoes. Those new brand shoes.
New brand shoes. I'm going to uh close, uh and please stay on after we close.
Okay.
I'm going to close by talking about why I started Create Don't Hate.
Okay.
So Create Don't Hate was born out of frustration. The frustration of individuals hating on me because of my differences. I wanted to start a movement of change, hope, courage, and love to build a community connection, to build community and connection in the process. Create Don't Hate is a real practical way of sharing hope to those who have been muted and shut down because of being who they are. Create Don't Hate is an anthem that I would play to get through the tough times.
Nice.
So I really do appreciate you and your words and your time. And thank you so much. Is there an email or a way for anyone to get a hold of you? You talked about your training program. Do you want to just give it some information? Give us some information there.
Yeah, so you can email me at Dixon, so it's Dixon, as you can see on my shirt, legacy40 at gmail.com, right? And then I can sort of fill you in. The company is called Dream Athletic Academy, so Dare to Reach Every Achievement Made Academy. And you can find it on YouTube because we're starting our YouTube page. So it's at Dream Athletic Academy 1 on YouTube, and you can find it there. And also you have Dixon Legacy 40 on YouTube. So we're trying to just spark conversation, and I call it mentorship through conversation. So kind of like what we're doing here, if you have people that can talk about what they've been through in the past, and then what was their mind thought process back then, and what's their thought process now that they're older, right? And then compare the two. right? And then what would they have done different? So just have those conversations so you can have the youth that can learn from it because they're going through the same thing. You have the adults that are going through it, or the adults that have youth that are going through it. So everybody can kind of learn from our experiences and what we've done, right? So these are some of the things that that I'm trying to do. I'm starting my own little thing. and and it starts with just like you talked about your confidence piece. So I made these shirts and it says Dixon Legacy 40. And it's because of that legacy piece and my mindset and mentoring. But why I was telling my daughter this the other day, it's like we spend thousands of dollars on Gucci, right? On Fendi, on all the big names, Tommy Hilfiger, all those big names, right? And do you realize that all those names are names of families? Right? Gucci is the name of a family. Fendi is the name of a family. Like Tommy Hilfiger is a name. You know what I mean? Like all these big names that everybody's buying is a family. So why not promote your own? You know what I mean? Like in whatever way you want. Why not promote your own? Be when you walk with a Gucci dress on, you feel good, right? Why don't you feel good wearing a Dixon gear? You know? So it's just like I said, it's that part of being impeccable with your word, understanding where you come from, be proud of who you are. This is part of that, right? So so I'm trying to sort of big that up as well.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. I enjoy our conversations.